Welcome back in, everybody, to Pro Football Plus. I am Ben Parker. It is so excited to have all of you back with us today, as every week. And our panel this week is Austin and Youssef and Shane. And we're all up and down the East Coast. And we're loaded for NFL football. And we're going to start off with a very hot topic today. Brandon Aiyuk trade rumors are swirling like a tornado, and they are hitting hard. We've heard three different teams mentioned, with a couple of others maybe in the loop. So it's the Browns, it's the Patriots, and who's the other team we're hearing as well, guys?
Steelers.
Steelers, yeah, that's the other team that's kind of out there. So the question tonight, leading off the bat, is if you wanted Brandon Knight to go to one of these teams, where would you want him to go? Shane, you're up.
I mean, as a Patriots fan, I think if you can add a weapon, you go after him. They haven't done that well in the draft. I mean, for many years, that's been a weakness. The Patriots, they've tried to fill that number one wide receiver spot, unsuccessful. Many guys have ended up on their second and third team after the draft. But for Aiyuk, I mean, I think you can get him in there. You're gonna play, a young or second string quarterback anyway. So if you add another weapon to that team, maybe you can help, especially if they're going to try to run the ball a little bit more and play some more solid offense.
Youssef, where do you want to see him go, man?
All right. Well, if it was me personally, I would say the Commanders, because that would totally deplete their roster, but that's not going to happen. So that's out. It's going to be the Patriots. I agree with Shane on that one. I think they can give the most compensation. And because I get the impression that the Niners, even though people are saying that the Niners are all good money-wise, I don't think they are. So after this year, a lot of contracts are coming off of the books, and they got to pay folks. And I don't think they're going to go all in and have a massive salary cap. So probably going to be trying to get some young talent in there, and the Patriots have enough draft capital to make that happen. So I think out of the Commanders, the Browns, which is a bad QB situation, Pittsburgh, and the Pats, I'm going Pats on this one.
Austin, you've got a pretty heavy investment in this personally, so tell us about it and where do you want to see him go?
Yeah, so I've got, I'm a big Brandon Aiyuk fan. I've got him in like my Dynasty Fantasy Football leagues. I also have Drake May, so I am really hoping he goes to the Patriots, but I also think it makes the most sense from an NFL perspective. They've got the rookie quarterback. They need a number one weapon. They've got a receiver room full of wide receiver 2 talent. They just drafted Jalen Polk, who I think is a hit. Kendrick Bourne, I think, have to be included going back to San Francisco. He is a former 49 in that 2020 Super Bowl where Jimmy Garoppolo led the 49ers to the Super Bowl, and they lost that game. Kendrick Bourne was actually the leading wide receiver for the 49ers. So I think he would go back to San Francisco in this trade, but then they've got Pop Douglas. So you're looking at a receiver room with Pop Douglas playing in the slot, Brandon Aiyuk as your 1, and Jalen Polk as your 2. And I think that's a really solid receiver room for a young quarterback who has a lot of upside.
I would love to see it too. I would love to see him go to the Patriots. Patriots have struggled at skill positions for quite a while now. Belichick wasn't his huge emphasis, and he was struggling anyway when we tried to hit it. So I would love to see Aiyuk go right there to the Patriots and help out whoever's going to play quarterback this year. And hopefully whenever May gets ready to start at that quarterback spot, it's got a guy that he can throw the football to. So I would love to see it as well. We'll find out probably within the next 24 to 48 hours, I'm sure. Let's move right along to the first topic for this night, one we already had planned, front offices. This is the negativity episode tonight. I planned out a whole bunch of negative NFL stuff, so we're going to be critical a little bit. We're going to shoot people a little bit down, but it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll try to be a little soft-handed when we do it. I had originally phrased this, your worst 3 front offices in the NFL. I'll back off that a little bit. Maybe your least favorite 3 front offices, however you want to frame it. Shane, where are you going?
Hey, Ben, I'm going to jump right on that juice. I went with the worst, and I'm willing to say that. And so I went Carolina. I like Dan Morgan, but what they've done in the past, unless he can really turn it around, what they do. Also, when you have just a terrible owner, it doesn't matter what your front office does. People don't want to play there. It makes it extremely hard to get another coach in. All those play in a factor. Yeah. On the same boat, I went with Tennessee. I think they have a chance to turn it around, but I thought Vrabel was an excellent coach, and I think some of the decisions they made after Vrabel's out, you let Henry ride. You're you've drafted multiple quarterbacks. We're going to see if Levy is the one that pulls out on that side. And then the one that got put underneath the microscope, especially with Saquon Barkley, is I put the Giants. I think they're under an awful lot of pressure right now. If this team doesn't perform, they're going to clear house. So if you're going to be a GM and a coach that's going to have some control, then I'd want to know I'm going to be there for at least more than one more year. You've already made what seems to be a bad decision on a starting quarterback and paying him money. You let a franchise running back leave to a in-conference team, especially after the owner said, if he signs with the Eagles, I'm going to be really upset. And that's exactly what he did. And I think the Giants are at the point where they need to make a move. And I wouldn't be surprised if both the GM and the coach are gone in a year. I'm sorry, Yusuf. I mean, I'm in New York. I'm going to catch a ton of fly. Don't worry. I go after the Jets in the next one. So
I tried to hold it in, but I couldn't handle it. Oh my God.
All right, so that's Shave's 3. Yusuf, what's your 3? And
I'm not going to say the Giants, that's for sure. I got some worse ones than that. But it's okay. But Carolina's right up there at the top. They are the worst in my opinion. Tepper's ownership style is not good. Quick trigger finger, poor culture. The team doesn't seem to like each other. And that paralyzes your executive staff, but they can't really do their jobs. So low on Brian Burns and C-Mac, as a matter of fact. So that was 2 bad spots right there. I just think it's a inept organization across the board. If anybody got to clean the house, it's going to be them. They're going to have some bad seasons because of how they manage their roster. So it's like, this is different than just somebody rebuilding. This is like, it's going to be years of bad stuff because of what's going on at the top. So it's going to be a long, hard road. But I got the Jets next. Historically unable to build a team. They got continuous fails in the offseason. Poor track record in the draft. I'm not sure if that's Woody Johnson or his compatriots. Not sure who to blame for that, especially when it comes to drafting quarterback. They've been known to overpay for their veterans. It's been bad, man. So if this whole season is riding on a 42-year-old, that tells you all you need to know right now about how things have been managed. And the last one's going to be the Raiders. I mean, they've been rightly criticized for being in that for over 20 years. If my dad was alive, he would probably disown his son because he was a big Raiders fan. I don't know how. He's from New York, like me. I don't know how it happened. But everything they're doing is high risk at this point because everything's so badly managed. They can't get wide receivers in that are quality, that are mainstay. They get high-speed guys, but they're low-character guys, like Henry Ruggs, bringing Antonio Brown in, for example, and Josh McDaniels, who had no business being the head coach of any team, in my opinion. And they brought him in, and they think they were going to make a chicken salad out of you-know-what. So it's like, what's happening here? So those are my 3 right there, man. But I'm not picking the Giants. They're not great in the front office, but they're not the 3 the entire universe.
The Raiders are my number 4, so I agree with you, Yusuf.
Come on. Come on.
All right, Austin.
I think Yusuf might be a little in denial. I've also got the Giants down there in my bottom. So I try to separate front office from ownership. I know not everybody does that. So I actually don't have the Panthers in my bottom because I do think it is ownership in Tepper. I think he is an immovable object, an unstoppable force. Like there's nothing that front office is able to do with Tepper just standing on their feet the whole time. So that's why I've got teams that I think ownership is very willing and wants to win and wants to do things. So I've got the Giants, I've got the Falcons, and I've got the Broncos. I think those 3 are the least held back by ownership, but still prove themselves to be pretty inept.
Yeah, I see what you're going with there with Austin. Which one you calling the worst for us?
The worst, I will actually go with the Broncos.
Oh, thank God.
So the Broncos were mine, and part of what you're up against here is with some of these teams as well. The guy who did all the damage is gone, and it's a new front office. So I don't necessarily hate the front office in some of these places, but yeah, Panthers have been wretched. I mean, vile, but how much of that is Tepper? We're going to give Morgan a chance. The Giants have not done very well. Listen, the Daniel Jones decision alone, I told them not to do that, and they went and did it. So, that's on them. That may cost Dable his job just right there. We'll see. We'll find out.
Okay.
I don't know. They're showing some fighting spirit against the Lions, so maybe they'll turn that into some wins this year. We'll see. But the
The team
Broncos
is better.
have been bad.
Can't you guys see that? They're better than they were last year. You can't see that? They have improved, man.
We'll find out, man. We'll find out. I also don't like listen. The Saints have done a pitiful job. They've done so much financial maneuvering and hardly anything to show for it on the field in terms of actual wins. So I don't like them. And honestly, I don't like the Dolphins and the Jaguars, even though their rosters don't suck. They've struggled in drafting some areas. They've struggled to get any serious wins and losses under the belt. Those guys have been there for a while. It's not like those are newbies in the GM world. So I'm not a fan of either of those as well. But that's it. All right. So find out if the Giants belong in that bottom feeder list or not. Let's move on. Teams you plan to root against this year. I only came up with one, and I'm not even emotionally attached to this one. I'm curious to see if any of y'all came up with like 5 or 6. How many NFL teams you plan to root against this year? Shane?
I only came up with one, and like I said, I'm going to catch some New York flack for it, but it's the Jets. I think Aaron Rodgers is a good quarterback, but he has never been somebody I've rooted for. I think that they've made multiple mistakes in the draft class. I think the defense is going to be questionable now because they've made some moves that don't necessarily support what they're looking for. Saleh, I don't think that he's one of those guys that should be a head coach. I think he's a great defensive coordinator, but sometimes having to make all those decisions and have everybody underneath your control is difficult. I think they're going to be I don't think they're going to be good this year. And the only other team that I said, to keep with our continuous run is Arizona, but I actually think they're going to play well this year. So it's hard for me to do that. But as I've said before, I don't even really understand why the Cardinals exist. So,
Yusuf, as we celebrate this negativity episode, how many teams are you rooting against this year, man?
Can I root against the entire NFC East? Is that okay?
Yes,
because
absolutely. Okay.
I feel, and I've said this on multiple. That's not my answer actually, but I want to preface it though, because last year the Giants lost 5 games by 5 points or less, and at the start of the season, I predicted that as bad as the O-line was, I seen worse O-lines that had double-digit wins before. It's historically accurate. I felt like they could at least win 9 or 10 games last year, so that those 5 losses just blew that out of the water. So the whole NFC East, dropping 2 games from whatever their prediction is, that'd be great for us. But I'm going with my second team, the Chargers. So I want the Chiefs to go down. I feel like the Chargers have to do a lot to overtake the Chiefs in win total. But if the Chiefs lose 2 or 3 games that they would normally lose and be teetering around a 9 or 10 win record, I feel the Chargers can jump inside there with the talent that they have on paper and be able to really compete in that division and lead the Raiders and the Broncos in the dust where they belong. So I'm hoping that the Chiefs underachieve severely next season.
I like it. Austin?
It's a weird spot for me because the teams that I historically root against are all bad recently. And so I don't like actively root against bad teams because I feel like that's kind of mean-spirited. I want them to have a little success again before I can start trying to chop them down. So the only team still left on my list of don't like them, have no one on no players that I really like on the team that much, and they're still really good is the Packers for me, and they're a divisional rival. And I'm a big Luke Musgraves fan, but after that, there's not really any players who I'm super attached with. They've been good for so long. Why can't they just be bad for an extended period of time? They just won't do it.
No, all right. That's real emotion. I like it right there. Okay, so Packers go down, just lose. All right. My team is the Saints, partly because I don't like the way they've done their finances. If ever a team just needed to kind of hit the reset button, the Saints do. They've kind of been dragging on this stuff for 3, 4, 5 seasons now, and it's not working this way. So just hit the reset button, and a losing season, I think, would do that for them. If they go, 5, 6 wins, they're going to clean house a little bit and start over, which I think they need to do. But partly also because Corey. We've missed Corey the past few weeks because he's been out with life and football and stuff. But Corey's a huge Saints hater, so in honor of Corey, I'll root against the Saints Saints this year
All right.
as well. Let's hit our next topic for the night on Negativity episode. How many teams would actually shock you if they wound up in the playoffs? So I'm looking for a number here, and you can rattle off the list too. But how many teams would just absolutely shock you if they wound up in the playoffs? Not including all the dark horse candidates, right? But it's like, hey, these teams really should not be in the playoffs this year. Shane, how many are you looking at?
See, for this one, I really went with 0 because I think in the runs that we've made and selecting those, I think the dark horse candidates, we each have reasons why. Like, oh, there was injuries, they got a new quarterback, they're getting a year older. I mean, I think the one that's a dark horse that I thought I would be surprised is if Richardson is healthy with the Colts and they can turn that all the way around. I think that could be a battle with the Texans. But on the other end, I think the other divisions are pretty easy to go through. And I don't see a team that's going to take a giant leap this year. Like Yusuf mentioned, the Chargers are probably my favorite to make a huge run, but they have the Chiefs in there. So I don't think that they're going to be able to pull a playoff spot out of there just because of what they'll have to battle against.
Fair enough. Shane's at 0. Yusuf, what's your number?
All right. I'm going to back off of one of them. I had the Pats, the Panthers, and Vegas. I'm gonna back off of Vegas because their defense is very, very good. So that can get you some wins. So I'm gonna back off of that. So I'm going with with 2, the Pats and the Panthers. I'd be really shocked if either one of them got into the playoffs. I'd be very. A division is probably not going to happen for either one. So even a wild card shocks me. So I'd be literally blown away. Like head exploded emoji if that happens for either one of those 2 teams. So.
Fair enough. I'll tell you in a minute. Austin, how many numbers of teams did you got?
So my reading comprehension might not be the best, or maybe I just took this a different way than you guys, but I noticed that the NFL expanded the playoffs to 14 teams recently. So any number other than 14, I think if any other number other than 14 teams make the playoffs, something's weird.
If the Braves slide in as the 16th team, we got some questions.
Yeah,
could be the White Sox. I mean, they can lose in another sport. It can't get any worse for them.
Oh, brother.
That's wow. Austin coming out of left field as always. Thank you, Austin. So I'm surprised. I didn't think I would have had the highest number, but I'm at 3. And for me, those 3 are the Patriots, the Broncos, and the Panthers. Now, I think the Patriots are headed in the right direction. I just don't really see it happening this year because of part of the roster and then the young quarterback. I'm just not seeing it. The Broncos, if the Broncos get in the playoffs coming out of that division and that AFC and with that roster and with that Russell Wilson contract sitting on their books, I will be blown away. That's my lead dog for not making the playoffs is the Broncos. And then the Panthers, they're going to have Bryce Young light it up. And while I do think he can play better than last year, I just don't see the Panthers pulling out a playoff spot this year at all. So I'm at 3, and I came in high. How about that? NFC hot seat. How many guys are on it out of the NFC, and who are they? Shane.
So as Yusuf said, rooting against the entire NFC East, I feel like if you're a coach in the NFC East, you're in trouble. So on my hot seat is Sirianni, McCarthy, Dable, and I went with the Saints. I think Allen, like we've said before, I think when you pick that, I think he's the coach that gets the least out of his team. The GMs have not helped them. They're in salary cap hell. Sirianni, I mean, if he doesn't pull it up with the talent they have in Philadelphia, you could understand him getting out of there. Dallas, if you're a head coach underneath that regime, you could always lose your job, especially when there's other head coaches out there. And Dable, like I said, I think he does a good job with the Giants, but I think having GMs that have buried him in the last 2, I think it's going to be hard for him to pull up.
And who do you have as the hottest of hot seat on the NFC side, if you had to pick one?
I actually think it's Sirianni because I think if Philadelphia drops off as far as they can, it really shows how much his offensive and defensive coordinators really kept that team going. And then he's made bad decisions in their replacements. So that's the one I think is the hottest. In Philadelphia, you're going to have Barkley. You got Hurts back. We're going to make some moves. We got wide receivers. We got everybody that's ever played for Georgia on our team. I think the fans are going to go after them, and he's the one on the hot seat.
Let's find out from you, Seth, on the NFC side. Who's got the hottest seat and how many guys are on the hot seat as we kind of get the season rolling?
Too many people to name, but Shane got some of them. But I'm gonna just name a couple of for brevity's sake. But both of these guys, they have teams that are they reasonably have talent on their team, and they've kind of overachieved in a couple of areas. I'm going with Sirianni first. That's my number one there, and I got Dennis Allen as my second one for the Saints. It's really weird that you have a well over 500 record and still be in trouble or considered to be in trouble. Personality issues, poor staffing choices have kind of been rubbing some of the leaders on the team the wrong way, and the fans the wrong way for that matter. They don't play inspired ball when it counts, and it feels like that's a coaching thing more than it is a player thing. So it's kind of like do or die for him, in my opinion. And they have a history of letting go of coaches that do well. Case in point, look at Peterson. Won him a Super Bowl, and guess what happened? Going. So Allen's the next one. They have an elite defense down in New Orleans. You can't deny that. That defense it should be a top 3 defense, maybe in the top 2 defense in the league next year. Respected defensive mind. He's just very, very conservative when it matters. His record's like, 24-46? That ain't going to make it. You know what I'm saying? So for him, it's really playoff or bust because Carr's getting killed out there. He's not helping out with that whatsoever. Every time Carr gets hit, there's 4 injuries on the injury report. Every time he gets hit. So it's going to come back to him at some point in time. So I'm going Sirianni and then Allen with a close second.
Austin, how many and who's hot? Who's the hottest?
I don't have as many as you guys, but I do basically have just the main guys you mentioned. McCarthy is definitely on there. I'm not as down on Dable, at least this year. I think unless he really super underperforms, he gets one more try at it. I agree with you totally on Dennis Allen. And then one that really hasn't been mentioned, the only one I think that hasn't been mentioned for me is Matt Eberflus, Bears coach. The rookie quarterback, if that doesn't go well, I think he could be gone.
Yeah. Fair enough. You have McCarthy as the hottest?
Yeah.
All right. McCarthy of the Cowboys. So mine I think is exactly the same as Shane's list, if I remember correctly. So I've got Mike McCarthy as the hottest right now, and honestly, I respect his work that he's done in Dallas even more than what I respect that he did in Green Bay. For him to go that long in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers and not have any more top success, I was a little disappointed. But I like the work he's actually done here in Dallas. But if you're in Dallas, you're always on the hot seat. Brian Dable, I think he's the guy for that job. I would not get rid of him. I would hit the reset button with him still there as the coach, but that's just not the way the NFL usually works. And I figure if he shows up around 5 or 6 wins this year, he's gone. I don't think he's going to get another chance at this. I really don't. So I've got him as my number 2.
If that happens, call me and check on me. Make sure I'm okay.
Nick Sirianni, I don't think he's going to go anywhere unless they really have an awkward ending to this season. Like, if they miss the playoffs, that GM, Howie Roseman, will pull the trigger on him so fast. Roseman's in so good with the owner, and rightfully so. He's a very good GM. They get rid of coaches fast there. And then, of course, Dennis Allen, we've all mentioned him. So that's my 4 with McCarthy being the hottest. Let's move over to the AFC side, Shane. I've got 2 guys on the hot seat over there. How many do you have?
I loaded it up again. You wanted negative. I'm giving it to you this week. So I mentioned the Jets. We've already mentioned some troubles there. I think Salah's on the hot seat. I think he's always been on the hot seat. I think he was a questionable head coaching decision from the very beginning. I think Sean McDermott does an excellent job with the Bills, but I think they have underperformed late in the season, and that's going to be difficult for him to come back for. Also, again, some offensive coordinator changes that haven't worked out great for them. Doug Peterson, again, I mean, the Jaguars can show you a great season, and then they drop themselves right back down to mediocrity. So that's going to be hard for him. And I mean, the one that I expect to have the worst season, but they're paying him the most money, Sean Payton. I mean, if the quarterback situation doesn't get figured out for them, everybody else that's on that team I think the Broncos are going to be terrible this year. And he will get the benefit of the doubt because there's not really a ownership group there, and they're always going to say, "Oh, he's so smart." But I mean, his team's underperformed too. You know, when you don't have Drew Brees, all of a sudden, it doesn't seem like your offense was that great. So, I think he's one of the ones that's on the hot. I think Saleh is on a fire seat. I don't think it's even hot, and he'll take a bullet because Aaron Rodgers doesn't perform.
I'm going to come back to a couple of those names, Shane. Obviously, Youssef, how many you got on the hot seat on the AFC side?
I had some of those in mind, but I went ahead and went with two. I had them flip with Shane. I had McDermott first. Seemed to have a aversion to get into the big game. One AFC title game in 5 years with prime Josh Allen at that. Renovated their roster this year. If you look at the names, it's like, who's the leader on this team? It's like, it's scary, and time's starting to run out. So his seat is on fire. Matter of fact, he's probably already got 30-degree burns already, and the season hasn't started yet. Next one's going to be Saleh. He escaped last year because it really should have been him, his head on the plate, but because Rodgers played 4 games and went out with an injury, he kind of got a little bit of salvation. Defensive mind, no doubt, but he handpicked that offense, and guess what happened? It flopped. So kind of like the Eberflus, Saleh's been given another chance because of the experience of dealing with Rodgers and the decline and everything. If it doesn't work out, a lot of guys are getting fired in New York. So we'll go McDermott first and then Saleh.
Y'all are naming all my names, but I've only got 2 again. Austin, how many you got, and who's the hottest?
So I think the AFC isn't as hot as the NFC, but I did throw a couple names who I think are still mildly hot seats. I think Sean McDermott is probably number 1 for me in the AFC. And it's not as much on him as it is. I think the Bills are just a worse team this year. I think they're going to underperform most people's expectations, and I think he's going to get canned for it. Next, I do have Sean Payton on there. And then lastly, this is a name I haven't seen on any hot seat list. Nobody's ever talking about this guy, but I genuinely think he deserves to be looked at if the Bengals don't perform well this year. Zach Taylor. I am number 1 Zach Taylor hater out there for some reason. I don't know what it is about him. His offense irks me. The defense is super odd. I don't get why he overperformed when Burrow finally kind of broke out, and that took him off the hot seat. But like, I think it's about time to kind of start warming it up again.
Ooh.
Austin out of left field, man. I love it. I haven't heard Taylor at all. Thank you so much for coming in, man. Out of left field. That's perfect. All right. Y'all are all naming names that are legit. Especially the Peyton thing. He's not one of my 2. Peyton deserves to be up there. I'm just not certain he's not going to get a pass on this season because of the whole Russell Wilson thing, along with somebody already mentioned that Peyton's reputation for being smart. So we'll see though. Another really bad season, he may be out the door. My number 2 is Peterson with the Jaguars, and it's so weird because again, two seasons of success after Urban Meyer was gone, but it's just been really bad endings to both years, and you cannot have a third year of that, especially if you've got a franchise quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. So it's the game that is played in the NFL with GMs and coaches. These guys work together every day, but if that GM feels his skin getting a little bit of pressure, coach is out the door. So there's no question the Jaguars GM will pull the trigger on that if they get another bad ending of the season, even if it's a winning season. There's no question Peterson would be gone. My hottest of hot, though, is Saleh. I think Shane already said this. Saleh's seat is on fire. He's not even sitting anymore. He's going to have to stand the entire season. If he loses, if they don't make the playoffs, or if they have a really bad ending or something, he's out the door. The GM is out the door. Everybody's out the door. They are going to clean that entire Jets front office. I mean, everybody's gone. I mean, even if Aaron ends up staying for another year, everybody's gone if this is a bad season. So Saleh's got the hot seat for me. I think that's it for the negativity, unless anybody brings some in the final 60. But before that, we're going to do our final contest week before we do another one in September for the NFL. Stock investment, any Olympic team you want or individual. You can bet as much as 500 if you don't have it, Shane. But we're going to quadruple your points, triple your points, depending on how many medals you get. I'm still in the lead. Youssef is up to 1,420 with a huge week last week. Austin sitting back there with 604. Shane's back in the green again at 280. So everybody's got a chance to win, depending on who you bet on and whether or not they hit the gold medal. So Shane, Olympic stock investment, where are you going?
So I know we were allowed to go to 500, but I only have 280. That's what I'm going to actually play with. I went with the U.S. women's soccer team. I know I'll get at least some medal out of this scenario, so it won't be a bad ad. And I'm just happy to have a victory again. I felt like all I should have done was root for other countries, and they were going to be guaranteed to win. So, I mean, I hurt 3-on-3 basketball. I mean, I hope Jimmer can make it out. Let's get out of Paris, my friend.
Youssef, you got a chance to win this thing finally. Where are you going? Who you got your money riding on, man?
Well, finally was not. That wasn't nice.
Man, you've been down at 300 points the whole time, man.
That was kind of hurtful. But,
You're finally here.
It's a negative week, Youssef. You had to go after
It's a
you.
negative week.
I know. I'm too positive. All right. So I'm going with Spain in the soccer finals. They've been blowing people out, man. I've been going to USA all this time. It's been serving me well, but a slight departure from that. They've been blowing everybody out. Undoubtedly had the best roster in the entire competition. And they made a run to the gold medal 3 years ago as well. So they're kind of on a hot streak, so to speak. And Morocco, this is new for them. It's kind of a bigger stage than they've been on. So I'm guessing they're going to have a little bit of jitters. And Spain being a veteran in this situation, in this kind of environment, we'll go ahead and grab that gold. So I'm going Spain in the soccer finals for $420.
All right, $420.
Yes, sir.
What? Why didn't you go bet the whole
I'm being
thing,
cheap.
man?
I'm being cheap like Ben Parker was last week.
Was his prices right? I
Something
will
like that.
ask an ignorant question because I haven't been following the soccer. Is that the men's side we're looking at on the soccer thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's men's
All
side.
All right, fair enough.
I'm going to be
Austin?
broke. So
I know you're betting the whole thing, but just what are you betting it on?
Well, I'm not gonna pull up from 3-point land here. I'm gonna take an easy layup, I think. I'm gonna go Team China on ping pong. I think it's about as free as it gets at this point.
Okay.
Just put me down for 500 and I'm just ready to cash already.
Wow.
300?
No, 500 max me out.
500. Okay.
Max me
Well,
out.
you're at 604. Yeah, so you can do your full 604 because you're
Okay.
over 500. So, and I apologize. I've actually picked an individual. So while I'm announcing it, if anybody thought it had to be a team and you want to switch to an individual, you're welcome to do it before the show is over. But we've been doing individuals the whole time, and I don't know that I actually put that into the doc before we did this show. But I had an individual lined up. So any of y'all want to switch, do it while I am chattering here.
Not a chance,
Noah Lyles, man, 200 meters. I think it's coming up on Thursday. Boy, he's confident. He's ready to go. And I'm going to put 1,000 points on him because that's what I think he can do here. So Noah Lyles, 200 meters. Don't let me down, baby. You let me down, I'm going to be mad at you for life. But there it is. All right. Anybody else want to switch before we shut it? All right. Bets all lined up. We'll have the contest winner next week and bragging rights until September starts. All right. Final 60. Shane, here you go.
Final 60 for me. We've kind of hit on it already, the negative episode here, but football's back. You only get half of a Hall of Fame game before the weather takes it out, but with college football starting to kick up, NFL training camps, high school football starts to pick up as well. I mean, this is a great time of year, especially for people like us that like to talk about sports. My favorite has always been college football. I love some of those early August games where you get that first matchup. You might have two teams that are completely out of the left field that both end up showing up. So my 60 is football's back.
I can't wait, man. We're already in August, and it's still the NFL's still like a month away, dadgummit. So, Youssef, your final 60.
All right. Random complaint or question that I have for years. Have you ever thought about what an NFL contract is going to look like in 2040? Mahomes is halfway through a $450 million deal at age 29. If he plays until 40 years old, he could be the first $1 billion player ever. I hate that. unfathomable to me. I mean, the cost of living in America is not going up enough to make anybody feel good about a player that is playing football for 17, 18 games, making $1 billion a year. What is happening? I don't even know I'm so mad. I don't know how to finish this. I'm just done right here. I'm like, this is nuts. Am I off?
Yourself, listen, I teach my kids. I'm going to pick up on the negativity here. So it's doing the negativity episode, and we got an extra minute here. I tell my kids all the time, life isn't fair, and don't wait for it to be. In a world in which athletes are making hundreds of millions while teachers and firefighters and police and everybody else are scratching for a living, it's not fair. I myself get a little perturbed when I see some of these YouTubers, and hey, I'm glad we live in a free country where it happens. Some of these YouTubers who have like 6 million subscribers, and they're all mostly 10 years old to 15 years old, and they're raking in millions of dollars. Life is not fair, but
that might be the next week. What? I don't understand that.
Hey,
$1 billion. I can't fathom that. $1 billion for a player. $1 billion.
They're probably just going to give him the Royals. He already owns enough, so they'll just put that right in the contract.
They can't do that for all these guys. It's like this is amazing. How do we get here?
Final 60.
Yeah, so I didn't notice anyone cover it while I was gone, but missed the last couple weeks. I went and saw the movie Twisters. It was fantastic. It kind of pays like a little bit homage to the old, Twister movie back in the 90s, but this one is way better in my opinion. It's got action, and I think the most impressive thing the movie does is it takes suspense and it holds it, which it's fairly easy for movies to build suspense, but what's tough is maintaining it throughout a full climax basically of the movie, and they do such a good job doing that. Probably my second favorite movie I've seen this year behind Dune 2.
Wow. All right, I'm impressed. I've heard good things about it across the board. My wife loved the old version from back in the day, so she was looking forward to this one as well. So thank you for the review again, Austin, as always. I'm going to end this negativity episode with some positivity. I didn't plan it that way. It's just what I had on my brain. All right. So we've been watching a bunch of the Olympics, more than I thought we would. Each Olympic session, I never know how much I'm actually going to get to watch, but me and the family, all 5 of us, we've had several opportunities. We probably watched 20 to 24 hours of Olympic coverage. I mean, just sit down and watch. It's been fantastic. So I've loved it across the board, up and down, in and out. I just love really all of it. But three people I'm going to shout out tonight out of literally the thousands of Olympians who deserve some credit. Simone Biles, watching her just rock it, roll it. Oh my gosh, she is fantastic. I don't even know what I'm watching there. Honestly, I don't. I just see the results, and the results are really good. All right. I can't actually tell if she's doing great or not. I just know she's winning everything. So she's great, and she's been doing this for a while. So while I don't know what I'm looking at, she's been fantastic. Love to see it from her. She's high character too. I really enjoy her. Katie Ledecky, same thing. Oh my gosh, this girl has been killing it for so long, just like Simone Biles in the pool. And I watched her the first race against that she actually, I think, finished second or third in. And she lost to, I think, an Australian who's younger and really doing well too. And I thought, well, maybe she's not Ledecky anymore. Nope, here she comes, medal. She's still Katie Ledecky, and she's still actually thinking about doing it in Los Angeles in 4 years. I don't know if she can or not, but she's thinking about it. So we'll see. Credit to those young ladies. And then my favorite so far, I don't even know if this is a good guy or not, but the guy from Turkey who showed up with basically out any of the equipment and just the pistol and just shot basically freehand and got the silver medal. I still don't know his name. I don't really care. I don't know if he's a hitman or if he's your next door neighbor who wants his doggy back. I really don't know. But that guy was awesome. And watching him do that without the equipment was a whole heck of a lot of fun. So shout out to Turkey for entertaining me on the Olympics this year. I've really enjoyed it. Shout out to everybody there in the Olympics. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you to all our panel for being here with us this week. We've got the NFL coming up. A lot of games we're going to cover. We're going to have a ton of fun when the season gets here. We'll see everybody next week. Everybody tell them goodbye.